And you can hear me? Very good. Okay, and this is the room. Very good. See to it that you sit comfortably. You can close your eyes and just recognize what is here. Not in an intellectual sense in counting things or labeling them, but just recognize this moment as it happens. Notice that you can observe thinking, emotional content, and whatever comes through the senses. It is like there is two layers to this. This one first layer that people usually associate with their experience, and it is the identified idea of me and things happening to me. What I'm pointing to here is not that. Because in that recognition, there is also something that just sees. It can see even the tryings of becoming, of being a person, of identifying with thought. It can recognize all that. It is prior to the idea of the person. And with the idea of the person usually comes a sense of trying to solve the experience, of trying to weed out the bad things and let the good things remain, or any kind of effort like that. This recognition of the moment is not that. It is just a pure seeing of what is. All subjectiveness is also seen. Can you grasp that? If there is any emotion clouding you in this moment, holding you in its trance, you can recognize this. There might be restlessness today, or discomfort, or maybe you feel very peaceful, whatever it is. And as soon as any of those states become identified, they become something. The wanting to enhance the peacefulness. The wanting to get rid of the restlessness. But the recognition of this moment is not that. It is to realize that you can observe the one who wants. The one who is in motion. The one who claims the next thing and the next. You can be the observer of all that. This recognition is what you are. It's actually not a shift towards a more meditative life or a more meditative lifestyle. It is the recognition that you are this awareness. The experience of the body, emotions, thoughts. And if you come back to recognizing this, you start to notice that those things are just unfolding, sometimes quite mechanically or repetitive. You recognize the mind with its patterns, with its emotions, with its parrot-like copying of what it's heard from others, these collective thoughts moving around. And how the mind so much repeats the same systems, the same trained, repetitive patterns. The more you observe it, the more you recognize that that is not freedom. That most of what the mind does is very mechanical, repetitive, and not alive. This is a prison that is constructed from ideas, from beliefs. True freedom is recognizing this. True freedom is in the acceptance of the ignorance of the mind and identification. To freedom is to see the spaciousness of being. I'm careful in using words like enlightenment and awakening because it makes the experience of being sound so exotic. It makes it sound like something fantastic somewhere else. But it is not. It is here. It's in the simple recognition of this moment. You just have to refrain from becoming. And maybe you like these words and the idea of beingness and the idea of meditation. But when you put it into practice, you notice that there are challenges. It's easy to stay as beingness, in these kind of settings. But it's difficult in conversations, when people trigger you, when you're out about in society. And step one is just to find a foundation. Notice that you can let go and just be in this moment as it is, inviting all experiences as you sit comfortably with your eyes closed in a silent room. And when this has been established, you do it when you wait. You go out about in society, there's always waiting in line somewhere, waiting for a train or a bus. Or just when you're simply walking. There's not much distraction, but there's still things around you happening, and you notice that you can stay as you are here as well. And you take it step by step, more involvement, listening to people, observing people, being in social context, still staying as awareness. And at some point, it tips over. It just starts happening by itself. And beingness just comes. And it can feel like effort, feel like there is some trying. Like you have to stay with it even though the mind resists. You might get a headache from it because you're trying so much. You concentrate, you try to stay alert, aware. All these things are normal, fine. You're breaking some old patterns that you have accumulated, maybe from your parents and society. Maybe they have been just bouncing around for a long time, these patterns. And when you break them, it feels like you leave things behind. Like you change everything. It can almost feel disruptive. Like a revolution of the mind. And this is also part of what it is. In staying as awareness, you change everything. From the analyzing point of view, from the ego point of view, it seems like it's almost nothing until you recognize that it is everything. It changes the demeanor of everything. And you might say that the world has become friendlier, more meaningful, hopeful, more beautiful, more precious. But it's just a recognition of what is. It automatically does all these things. And where you might have said things like, there's no point to anything, you will say the same thing but with a smile. That is the power of awareness. Instead of heavy, it seems playful, light. The world still has its complexities. There's still things happening. But you are not that. You are not the situation or the victim. You recognize that you are beingness. And this is your secret. When they ask you, how can you be so peaceful, so still, in the midst of turmoil and stress? You might not even be able to express it. Because you recognize again and again that you are here. You are this. However you want to define it, it is this moment. It is beingness. It is awareness itself. Everything becomes precious because you're no longer waiting. You're believing that you can do it later. Doesn't exist. It is this. It is here. And of course there is still planning and the expression of time, but there's no identification with it. There's no one trying. There's no one hoping for a better future. It sounds so grim in words, but it's just the truth of being. We put hope so highly, and of course if you're completely identified with your experience, hope is important. But the other side of the coin of hope is hopelessness, and then you have to play that game. Because if the object for your hope is somehow obscured, you're in hopelessness. This is just a game of the mind. This is not what is. There's no bitterness in being. There's deep acceptance, which is the same as deep love. You can open your eyes, you can move your body, stretch out your arms and legs if you need to. The ideas of the mind are so limited. Even if you have the greatest imagination, it's still so limited compared to the vastness of being. It's still like playing in a little box. It's beautiful. Even overwhelming sometimes. There's just so much love. It's strange sometimes. It's strange because you love the ones, even the ones who hate. Even the ones who are despicable, do terrible things. You know that they're trying to find the best way to be with their mind, and they just suffer. There's so few people who really look out for mankind. Most of them just want people to agree with them in their box. They can seem like they're on the right side of history or have good intentions, but they're not looking to really love everyone. Because it's so much easier for the mind to go to this kind of identification, to put yourself in a box. And the more you see of your own ignorance, you understand the ignorance in others. How the trance of the mind creates a worldview that you believe that you have to live with. Then if you connect with this deep love for everything, you will be called naive, unrealistic, ridiculous. It's just because it's rare. It's just because it is difficult to see. Because if you want to reconcile with that, you have to look at what you're afraid of. All the things that you do to keep yourself safe. And that for most people is not comfortable or nice. I understand that it's easy to buy into thoughts, ideas. And at a certain point you're so invested in them that you cannot leave them. And it feels crazy to go outside of the boundaries of those ideas, of those ideologies or isms. And to explore outside of that. Is scary. My mother said jokingly the other week, all we wanted to instill in our children is that they understood what freedom is. And she looked at me and said, and maybe we did a little too good of a job. Because you have to be crazy to go for freedom. A little bit. Because most people just want to feel safe and okay. And they're fine with feeling safe and okay. And also I want to say there's nothing wrong with that. But in some there is just a longing for freedom. Or maybe you just get grinded by life a lot. Maybe you just suffer too many things. And it just pushes you into looking. And it's like when the little spark has ignited the flame, then you're screwed. Some people are in the spark stage quite a while, but when the flame is there, then you're screwed. Because suddenly you have light in your life. And you might say, I can take this light right now, I'm too afraid of it, it's too much. But you will always come back to it. You might get scared of it, scared that it's burning everything it touches. And you keep your distance for a while. But it's like a special kind of fire that cannot go out. And you just start to offer your darkness to the fire. This light of awareness that changes everything. It's not really change in the sense of change is often thought of as coming through strategies or making decisions. It's not that kind of change. It is the change of seeing what is. Seeing your grief, seeing your rage, seeing what is, your self-pity. And when you bring it into the light, it changes. That's what light does. But it's not a change in the sense that you're building something or even becoming better. It's just that you see. Because the change is not for you. The change is less you. It's the loosening of the grip of identity. The more you come home, the more you stay as you are. What is the greatest challenge in the human experience? Tell me. Yes.
I don't know why I always have that impulse to put my hand up and speak. But, god damn it, I think when you said that, what came up to me was being able to be in it.
And who are you? When you look, who is the one trying to be in it?
Mm.
Where are you going?
It feels like there's just a ever swirling, and then it really, now and then it comes into some kind of presence, and it's very breathing there, and then it will slide away without being noticed until there's noticing again.
And what is recognizing all this?
I think the answer I have to that is only intellectual. I don't know.
Is it analyzing? And if you can recognize that there is analyzing, what is recognizing that? And there can be a point of view behind that, but what is recognizing that? Because I think that many people simplify the idea of this awareness. We talk about it as a non-phenomena, but it's still associated with some kind of phenomena. That the feeling of when it's there is in a certain way. You understand what you associate with the awareness, but it can never go. It can never leave. You can say, I am lost, but what is recognizing the sense of being lost? If you come back to this, you will notice it. If you go to the source of the idea of I, it will be revealed. It's not mindless inquiry of just asking the dead question, who am I, who am I, who am I? It is really looking at the idea of I and see if it is there. And when you say, as you said at first, that you're trying to reach it, how far away is it? And who is the reacher? Where does looking for it take you? Not looking for a specific event, but looking for the I itself. Not the idea of how beingness should be experienced, but the sense of I.
Something else comes when you say that.
And what is that something else?
That often I don't know if I want to tell you because I think you will just have the other, you will have the answer of like asking me again the same question. But I find that there's very easily merging with whatever is happening. That in this being, I don't find a very stable sense of I. So often when I hear you talking of these things, I make the story, oh well, I have the opposite problem.
But what do you recognize in this moment? Not what is your idea of your story of the I. Do you understand? Because
Yeah.
that many people carries also what I am, all the personality, all the ideas, what is my problems, what is my situation, what is da da da. It can be 1,000 things. But in this moment, what is the experience of the I? And you say it is not really that easy to identify it. Because of what?
Because it will merge with everything, everyone else's thoughts or the weather or any little thing to trigger any emotion. It will merge with my environment like a chameleon. I don't
Yes.
find
And
the me who has the opinions, or if I do, they will shift depending who
yes,
I'm with.
this
Is meaningless.
this is a good realization, because that means that there is no stability in this I. Sometimes you can even forget it, right? And it feels like you come back and you realize again that you are someone that is late to an appointment or whatever it is. So it can get lost. So it can come and go. And what does that say about its qualities? Is it stable or unstable?
No.
So, is it real or is it unreal?
Who says reality is stable?
It depends on what we refer to as reality. Sometimes people say coming back to reality means their everyday life and coming back from a vacation. That's not the reality that I am talking about. When I call something real, it means that it does not come and go. That it has the qualities of stability. And there is only one thing that has that in our whole experience. And that is not actually a part of our experience. It is just beingness itself. Everything else, all these colors and forms and things, they come and go. The idea of the person comes and goes. Even the body comes and goes. Deep sleep, no body. You get knocked out, no body.
Can I just
Yes.
had some words that came to mind to almost describe that, but it's like, it's the background that when you try to put it into the foreground, it eludes that. It's still the background. It is always the background.
Yes. And I think when many people approach meditation in the way, how do I bring beingness so I can look at it? How do I make it into an object? And that object is always an idea of what beingness is. Oh, this vast stillness, this is beingness. Oh, this deep sense of love, this is beingness. But those are just the expressions of it. It is not beingness itself. It's not awareness itself. Because it has no form. It just is. So this is why it gets difficult, and people might say things, I don't believe in things like that. But the strange thing with it is that you can experience as it, so you don't have to believe. It's not a God concept that is some abstract idea. Because when thoughts go and you fall into awareness itself, and it permeates everything, and it's so obvious that it is, even though it has no form. And this is what I mean by the little flame. It is that you have seen it. Some people try to start a flame, and for some people, there is a flame. And when there is a flame, and when you have seen it, it's like you have seen the cracks in the paintings of Maya. You have seen through the idea of this solid world. It feels a little bit more like a veil. It feels a little bit transparent. You don't really believe it. And that is usually when things like self-inquiry start to take hold. Because the mind says, you are a person in the world, and this is what is happening to you right now. This is your situation in time. It will say things like, you're going to live this long a life, and you have lived this much. All these ideas. But this is beyond that. None of those things are real. And suddenly, only with a question, to whom is that happening? It can break the whole. It feels like whatever you thought was real just falls apart. Because you cannot find the source of the I. It is not a person. It is just beingness itself. And it doesn't matter if I say that 1,000 times, because if you don't experience that, it will just be words. It will just be another concept. We can talk about the illusion of the experience and blah, blah, blah. But as soon as it is seen, it loses its power. Time loses its power. And the moment starts to become precious. You understand that nothing is guaranteed. There's no guarantees. Life will just happen. And the idea that you have of controlling life is not worth much. It will just happen. It will unfold as it unfolds, and the things that are going to happen will happen, and the things that are not happening are not happening. And the acceptance of this makes everything much more peaceful. Because the agitation of the idea of time and what time is going to do for us, or that we have the right to a certain amount of time for this body. All these ideas creates our suffering. And with the presence of this moment, of you can call it surrender, but it is just as it is. It just shows the beauty of it. And feelings and agendas and your ideas of what should be feel so small. They can still linger, but they just start to feel non-important. And loving will be the basis of your experience. Even the ones that seem impossible to love, you will love them. And I think you will always see the world from what you identify as, what you think that you are. If you feel like you have not enough, or that you really have to try hard, that is what you will see the world as. If you're angry, everything irritates you. And if you're loving, you just see love. And the people who move into that light always say the same thing, that the world seems much kinder, that people are nicer to them. Because that is how it is experienced, but that is not what is happening. They just don't project their crap onto others as much. Someone else wants to share what their biggest challenge is? Yes.
I think in one word, the biggest challenge is resistance.
And in what
Resistance
sense?
to the moment.
Resistance to the present
What
moment.
is.
To what is. Mm.
Yeah. And
To just come to terms with it.
yeah, physically in the body with tensions and emotions, and but also thoughts that tend to say that then it will be better. Then it will be all of those, and it's not then as in 10 years from now. It's
But when the
in
right
10
thing
minutes
happens,
maybe, or
yeah,
it's always
it's always ahead.
yeah. It's this. I know one meditation teacher phrased it as leaning forward into the moment and not fully just receiving the moment. So it's a sense of sort of always leaning forward and not always anticipating. And sort of, yeah.
And it's very, very common that two things are mixed together. And that is the idea of happiness and excitement. For many people, those are the same. But excitement is always for anticipation of the future. And happiness, real happiness, has nothing to do with the future. So they're actually almost opposites, but very often combined. Like the idea of happiness has something to be excited about. And this very much always creates also the next moment and the future. And a longing. And the paradoxical thing is that longing for that happiness and that freedom is what keeps always a space, and always it creates confirmation that I am someone going somewhere. But it is scary to not have that direction, to not be in that movement anymore, because it gives the sense of so much purpose and all these things. So without it, it feels like I'm lost.
Yeah, there's a big storyline that I can see of getting fixed and healed and achieving something, even though I wouldn't want to say that. My ego doesn't want to use that word, but it is what it is. It's achieving something, getting rid of past difficult emotions and all of that. Yeah, and there's a sort of a purpose storyline of sort of progression, and it's scary to feel that it's all that everything can be so still, and boredom and all of that can be very challenging.
Yes, because if there will be a sense of conclusion, could you stay in that? I assume that you have felt that many times in your life, that things have come to a sense of conclusion. And just be aware what the mind does then. It looks for the next thing. Because it can never be satisfied. The ego can never be satisfied because it thrives on being dual, on the sense of lack, dukkha, this suffering from not feeling satisfaction. That is and that's why the ego always goes in these loops, and it just wants to maintain the game. If you watch it, you notice it just wants to maintain the game. It doesn't really want to go anywhere. It doesn't really want to solve and be done. It just wanted to continue and wanted to play along with it. It likes spirituality it likes all the things that, like the feelings of spaciousness and experiences, and to talk about it with your friends. It likes all of those aspects of it. And being on a journey, it feels exciting. We're going somewhere. All that it likes. But when it comes to the real conclusion of just being, and all the sense that comes with that, the emptiness of not filling that void all the time, does it really want to stay there? It's such an easy thing to examine, because as we sit in stillness, in meditation, the ego will show all its ways of staying busy and how it does not want to come to a conclusion that is final.
Yeah, the thought of a sort of an immediate final arrival can feel very dizzying and scary.
Yes.
Where it's all just everything just stops.
Yes. And I'm telling you,
plans,
yes, everything is gone.
Yeah.
There is no future for you.
Yeah.
There is no anything.
Yeah,
And that is also why when people have a terminal illness, or the death of the body is very imminent, then people have to come to the acceptance of that. Or they can resist it into of course, when the body goes as well. But for many people, those kind of situations propel that so much because it's so obvious that there is no more time. Otherwise, the body will just say, I have the right to live 90 years. Hopefully healthy. And it will live with that idea. And it's the game of the ego is also a game of purpose. It says that if you're busy with all these things, there is purpose to your life. What would happen if there is none of that? And the great paradox of that is that life will be so precious without all these ideas of all the time striving. It just becomes very precious because there is only this. Every meeting with every person becomes precious. Everything becomes beautiful through that lens because there is no later.
And I know every time when I do experience that, I'm always surprised at how immediate and near and it always is. It's always in hindsight that I think it's over there, but it's always it's always closer.
Yes. And this emptiness that needs to be filled, that is so painful that you go into the ego time and time again, is such a thin veil, but it seems so real. Most people can absolutely not stand that empty boredom. That it feels like death. It feels like non-existing. It's so harsh. But it is also nothing. It's just a scary image that the mind can put up. And people can take all kinds of things that they're afraid of. But that one seems to be the real existential threat. The sense of death. And with that feeling can come the real feeling that the sense that also the body will go if you accept that. Even if it seems completely unreasonable, those things can just...
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello. Is this what we're talking about? This type of suffering of the mind. Is it our own fault? Like, is it my own fault that
No.
I do this?
No. Ignorance is not your fault. Do you understand that? Because you wouldn't do it if you could see it. If you would be aware of that behavior and the consequences of it, it would not continue. But since you cannot see the whole thing, since it has not been dispelled for you, it is like a trance. It is like a belief, whatever you want to call it. And then you believe, I have to fulfill this somehow. So you create an idea of a future, of a goal to fulfill, and you fulfill it. And for a little while, you feel very happy that you fulfilled your goal. You feel content, and then you look around and you say, what's next? Because that is how the mind continues. And you always say, what's next, and what's next, and what's next. But if you have awareness with it, you will start to say, I see a pattern here. It seems like the mind will never be satisfied. It says, but only if we get the next thing and the next thing. But it just continues. And then you start to see the mechanics of it, that all it does is that it wants to continue. So then the question might arise in you, what really creates peace? What is a peaceful mind? Is it this repetitive patterns of the ego, day in and day out? If I write down every day what I think about in general terms, you notice that it's more or less the same patterns just repeating. The same worries that you have, the same things that you think about. That the mind is not that alive. You can have the sense that you're a very free and autonomous person that can do anything, that has a free will, all this. But there's very little freedom in that. And many of the thoughts that we have are just collective thoughts. It's just something we heard from someone else, or we just continue something. It is not living in you. And beingness itself is the source of that. You can call it a real freedom, but it's not a freedom that you choose. It's just the freedom of being. And ignorance is not people's fault. And this is also, as soon as you start to understand your own ignorance deeply, you will also understand it in others. And you will feel, it will be very easy to feel empathy for them. And people who think that the best thing that they can do is defend something or divide people, but you, in your heart, you will see that there is ignorance there. They're just trying to do what they think is best. And it's so easy to adopt these things because they are everywhere. They are normal. To choose a side, to be pro or against. It's uncommon to love society and people as a whole, or all of them. Over state lines or over country borders, they're allowed to be the same. It's so easy that you in subtle ways show that we're this group and we're more worth than other people, or there's so many ways that game is played. And the ego always wants to feel special. He wants to feel chosen. So it's so easy to fall into that. And also when you see people in different places in society, someone seems to have a very broken life, and you also understand that there's just circumstances that happen to that person. It has nothing to do with that person being weak-minded or not strong enough or could just lift themselves up if they blah 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 something. And if you understand that the circumstances make so much of it, and how you relate to those circumstances is the only thing that you have. And it's not in a way that many people, I think, try. That it's not so much through change. It's through the deep acceptance of what is. This is the source of love. And to understand that it is not external. And it will be more difficult for the one who feels like they never got love from their parents. They have more to deal with that. It's not natural. It won't feel so natural to them. But they can always find a way. Because love comes from here. And we're in very different places. Different beings are in different spaces when it comes to their ignorance and what they can understand of the world and how they see it. But the exploration of that and the sincerity in it will always go towards light, even if it is a very difficult path to walk. And I can be so amazed by some people because they could seem so lost, and they find their way in the strangest of circumstances and embrace things that I would never imagine them to embrace. People surprise you so much. People want to be free. They want to have a good life. They want to feel happy. And sometimes we underestimate that. Because people have a strange way of expressing it or feel very desperate or whatever it might be. So your circumstances is not your fault. It is just what is. And if you recognize and are humble with your own ignorance, then there is the possibility to see. To just be honest with yourself and say, I notice that I don't understand. That I have blind spots for certain things. I have ideas that override certain things in my experience, which is very, very common. That you have one idea what the experience is, and that the experience that reveals itself time and time again is something else. But the conclusion that you have drawn why that experience is so locks it into place. And meditation is beautiful in its practice because it just stops that locking to happening. When I say, allow this moment to be fresh, leave all meditation techniques behind, I say sometimes, and just allow this moment to be fresh. That is that. That is just allowing the experience to happen as it happens. And when you come back to being aware of that, that can break the ignorance. And that creates wisdom through seeing, not so much through thinking about it or in a certain belief. It's always through seeing. And the ego wants to blame, it wants to say, you should have done this or you should have done that. But the teaching is always, stay with the moment as it is. Be aware of it. And it breaks this reactive mind. It breaks these patterns of that just go on and on. And some people say, but my ego is so strong. It's just that it has patterns that's been going on for a long time. And as soon as you start reacting to them, they will weaken. They might still be there for a while, and they might come up, but everything depends on if you believe in what that voice says or not. And at a certain point, if you come back to being aware of it, you will start to see that you can observe it. At first it feels very identified. It feels like the thoughts are stuck very, very close, that you are your thoughts, that you, and if you feel an emotion, you are that, very identified. You are triggered. But what's actually happening is that that emotion is coming, and in that it can be observed. But if there is no, if all the old patterns of just reacting and identifying are there, it will very easily come to that. And the more you observe your mind, the easier it will be to observe it. You will understand that all these things are coming and going. There are things. They are observable things. Sitaram, Jai Jai Ram, 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 Sitaram, Jai Jai Ram. 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 May everyone be free from ignorance. And experience the light of awareness as their natural state. Be free from identification with thoughts, free from ideas in the future and the past. And allow the full embrace of this moment. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.